Yes. What?
Hello!
Oh,
What's up?
well, you tell us, bro. What's up?
Yeah,
What's
For
happening?
a
What's
moment, I
happening?
was
How you guys
actually
doing?
lying on the floor, and
mm,
the camera shot was like, yeah.
yeah.
We have a lot of
Been trying new.
pro
He he's a
pro
wallflower.
videography people as well today on our stream. Before the stream began, we were discussing the whole what's the word,
His scandals.
potential potential and compromises people make to get into the
Mm,
entertainment industry. And we got some really great insight. And to share that great insight, we have a lot of sorry, we have great artists. It's an artistic duo and
brotherly duo.
brotherly artistic duo.
Yeah.
They don't do nude films. That is being clarified. Okay,
Mm,
they don't. But they do make a lot of erotic music.
correct.
Correct. So we have 12 viewers. Hello, Emmanuel. Thank you for joining us today. Where's the rest of the
What up? What
gang?
up?
Where is the gang
They're
today?
coming. I just got a message. I got a message on the WhatsApp thingy where everybody has got Nishank's message that we are joining in. So yeah, let's see. Nishank, you didn't send the message actually in the group. They
I
got a
did.
different message from you.
Huh,
Okay, yeah, I got it.
there's an advanced link these days.
Mm.
Krish has joined, so I'll
Hey,
quickly bring
Krish.
Okay,
him
nice.
to the screen. Okay, thank you for joining us. What?
Puck puck.
Hello, Puck Puck.
Pok
What's
pok
up, Puck Puck?
pok pok. What's
Yeah.
Tuhin,
Okay.
how was your
Anywho,
gig in this thing? Hyderabad. You were
हाँ
in
छोड़ो ना
Hyderabad.
guest को
How
तो
was the
छोड़ो.
flying?
Twin,
Yeah.
Oh
how
shit!
was
Can we
your
bring
gig?
our
Yeah, yeah.
guests in?
We are waiting for the people to join. I was thinking like we can just wait for like another 2 minutes or so. It's okay. Let's start.
Inshallah. So who would like to introduce our guest today?
You will.
No, I think Tuhin is the guy who knows
Favorite.
them for the longest time. I feel that Tuhin is the right guy to introduce these boys because I met them in some festivals. So Tuhin knows them way beyond before that. So yeah,
Yeah.
Tuhin, please tell
Okay.
us
So
how you met these guys and what was your experience and who are these people?
okay. Okay. So I
Why
originally
did you
met.
meet these guys?
I originally met the elder of the two brothers at a legendary club in Bangalore
Who's
called
elder? Both of them
Fuga.
look old.
Fuga. Yeah.
That you can find out once they're in the stream. But yeah, at Fuga, this was I think 2009 or maybe 10. Um, and yes, he was part of the whole Submerge forum members, and he got a chance to play at Fuga, and today he runs a school of his own along with his younger brother. They are at the forefront of the techno scene in Bangalore, constantly
Hmm.
doing great stuff. Some great releases of late that I've been digging.
Hmm.
They are Ashwin and Ashrit, also known as the audio units.
Welcome, Ashwin and Ashwin. Woohoo!
Hello, hello.
What's up,
Thank you
How
very much.
you
boys?
guys doing?
The
Good,
Very,
good.
very well. We are doing very good. How are you guys?
We're done. As
As
in,
good as we
done in
can
the sense
be.
we are done with like all the how you doing and all this stuff. I'm kind of
Amazing. Tuhin, actually, I think we met in 2005. It wasn't 2009.
he's
It
he's
was
confirming.
2005 or
He
6. That's when
log.
Fuga had sort of started. It was I remember this because it was a year before
Oh,
Sunburn
sorry.
started.
No, 2005
So
was it? Fuga
yeah,
was not that early,
2005,
bro.
6. No, 2005 or 6 is what I think when the forum was on, and we always used to sort of, exchange
Yes, yes,
music on
yes.
the
Correct,
forum.
correct.
Back then, the MSN
Oh
days,
yeah,
MSN
yeah.
sharing
MSN
But
files.
messages,
but Fuga was
ICQ,
later, right?
ASL, Chinma.
Fuga was later.
Yeah.
So when I
And
remember
the
meeting you at
thing
Fuga
is,
though.
Started
none
around
of you used
2006.
MSN. All of you were hanging out on Yahoo chat rooms.
No, we were on ICQ, bro.
We were on
ICQ.
Omegle, bro. Omegle.
Omegle, I'm still there, bro. I hope I never
And
meet
hi,
you there.
don't forget Hi-Fi and Orkut.
Hi-Fi and
ASL,
Orkut,
guys,
yeah.
ASL.
Oh
Yes.
shit.
The Chirkuts of Orkut. I remember there was a group also on Orkut.
Say hello
Chirkuts of
to Amrit, Pradeep, Ansh.
Hi guys.
Ansh has joined after a lot many days. Abhimanyu says, I just learned how to adjust the beat rate of tracks on record box. Someone pushed me off a cliff.
Abhimanyu,
Always happy to help, bro.
I think you sound a bit like Skip.
No,
Yeah.
I learn basic.
He
I
does it,
basic.
but
I
he
think
just doesn't do it.
yeah, doesn't do it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, skip that. That's what his whole thing is. Skip it.
Yeah.
That's why Skip.
Skip that.
Yeah.
Pulkit says hi.
You know why he's saying that, Ashwin? He's saying Tuhin is saying that because recently I got a pair of 2000s from a friend, and I loved playing on them. So he's like, dude, and I was like, yo, you can do this on it, you can do this on it, and these 2000s, while the 3000 was still packed, like niche pade hue the. And I'm like, yeah, and Tuhin is like, this is what happens when you don't play on CDJs for such a long time. So, and with the 3000s, the game changed, and now when I see the 2000s, I'm not kidding. So basically, I was doing like whole live streams at home, and then I went to the Mashes studio, and we have a pair of 2000s there, bro. It literally looked like a phone, like it looked like
Yeah.
like this.
I know
That's
what you
it.
mean.
Did you?
I know.
It's
I was watching some YouTube videos the other day of 3000s, and I'm like, man, look at the waveform moving so smoothly. Is it a 60 FPS video on YouTube, right? And I looked at it, no, that's a normal 30 FPS video.
Yeah.
So I feel you there. I totally feel you. So Nishant,
Yeah.
It's-
what we were talking about earlier.
No,
Make it happen.
no. Okay.
Man,
No,
I'm talking about the
but
CDJ
okay,
3000.
Rakesh and
Since we are-
Rakesh.
Karan. I think Ray is
Karan, what's
Rakesh.
up?
Sorry.
Hey, Ray.
I love how Nishank always like stops me whenever I'm saying something like shh.
Always.
So since we are talking about CDJs, I'm going to ask the question that Tuin asks because today I think I should be in because I'm in the center. So what was your experience? And I personally feel that you two guys are. I think at that time during the 2010 time, you and I, the band that I am part of, were the only people who were not doing the conventional DJ setup thing. So I just want to know, like, or we should discuss what your journey was like when it comes to from there to CDJs to blah 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 blah. So what was the thing like? How was the trip? And who would like to go first? Because two of you are there.
Okay, so your question is from the 2010 time, how our
Fuga days, from the Fuga days, basically.
Yeah, how our transition with the platform that we play on has been. Okay.
Yes,
So,
yes. How what's
Basically,
the
your
transition
journey,
got it.
like the
Yeah.
journey in the sense, what got you into electronic music, the kind of gear that you were using when you started out to
Right.
kind of setups that you're working
Got
with right now.
Okay, so I
Also, why
started
did
off,
you meet to him?
obviously, I was doing my solo thing as Inferno at that point of time.
DJ
And,
Inferno. Yes.
Yeah, he's one. He's the one. He's the
DJ Inferno.
The Inferno. So at that point of time, I
So-
originally started off with regular audio CDs on Denon players. That was my first. I used to play at the downtown pub in the afternoon at that point of time in Bangalore.
These were the dual decks, basically.
Yeah, the dual deck
These were the-
2600F, and there was also a 1800F. Each one worse
Yeah,
than the
oh,
other,
yeah.
like calculator display, one line display.
The
Literally,
1800 was in white, right?
1800. No, black only. No. Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah.
It was white.
Not white.
White.
I have never
So-
seen a white 1800.
No. It was
It
not
was,
white.
I
Even.
had
I
one.
think it was. It was
So
like a
if you
off,
wrote
white or whatever.
80085, what would it
I
read?
had a
1800F.
white. Yeah.
Yeah.
1800.
So yeah, I started off on that, and it was actually quite a challenge to beat match on those things, with the pitch button,
Yeah.
which was really cool.
Also,
Because
the
range
queue
of
release
that-
was slow.
Yeah. And sometimes, most of them, the Q button wouldn't work or the play button wouldn't work. So you'd use the loop button to start the track. You know it.
Yeah.
Literally like that. And then once the 4000F or whichever came out, it could support MP3s. One day I burnt a whole CD of MP3s and I realized you can't do jack shit with MP3s. You can't cue them. You move that platter a little bit, it's going to jump like 2-3 minutes in the track, whatever. MP3 reading itself was like horrible. You know, that was the whole story altogether. And
You could
mixers
press
were like,
play.
yeah, mixers haven't changed so much that time. You know, it was like a fun booth in that club because they had a mic hanging from above. You know, that was like the cool thing to do in all these clubs. Have a mic hanging from above because DJs spoke a lot on the mic back then.
I have a question for all of you. For
Yeah.
all of you. Do you find mixers of back in the days better or the mixers of today better? Leave V10 aside. Leave Zone 92 aside.
Like 6 channel, basically, take that aside.
The regular mixers, and bring any brand into play.
So
What do you think?
if I can go first, I would say that, see, sonically mixers sound better today because obviously of the components that they're using today were not available back then, higher resolution, blah blah blah. But in terms of functionality and the thought put into how they were designing mixers, I feel like today we are not pushing the envelope at all. Everybody's very playing it very safe. Yeah, I had the chance to work with some really eclectic mixers. You know, like Roland had one called the DJ 2000, which is still one of my all-time favorite mixers. It had, like I said, it had a dedicated sampler out which you could cue via your headphone outputs. Then it had a MIDI push-pull, which is basically a MIDI pitch bend. You know, so you could generate a BPM based on the tracks that you were playing, and you could actually pitch bend whatever you had connected to your mixer or via MIDI on the mixer itself. You know, then there was there were mixers by Red Sound. There were mixers by this company called Intimidation, which a lot of people don't know about. They had some super groundbreaking mixers. They had the Intimidation Blue. They had there was another one called the Infader, and then they had one mixer which actually had 3 crossfaders. You had for like low, mid, and high, so you could crossfade
low, mid, and high.
separate sections. Yeah, so I feel in terms of like thought process, we are kind of like not pushing the envelope. You know, when the DJ when we had the DJM 2000, that for me was like really up there because it brought the concept of that 7-band, like the EQ crossfaders, but into 7 bands.
Done. Finished. No, let others speak now.
Okay, can I speak? Can I speak? I have 14 mixers at home. I counted them because and the reason why I have them is because I take part in a lot of battles. So, and all of them, you'll be surprised that only four are like, so I've got 2 S11s and 2 S9s. So apart from that, everything else is either a Technics or a Vestax or actually I have a weird Gemini 66 and a very bad 6-channel Denon mixer. So I personally feel, and I just bought the Zones O2. And coming to Tuhin's point, why I bought the Zone O2 was because it has faders for EQ instead of knobs. So it has a three band EQ, but you have faders. And I love playing on Technics more because it has a 2-band EQ, and it's a filter with a bit of resonance. So I can really do some, and you see the DMC parts, you'll see these guys using filter EQ as a filter with a resonance, and they are doing some crazy stuff on top. So yeah, I feel I totally agree to doing that nowadays because it's digital. I feel that, I don't know, maybe you guys will be able to give a different perspective to it, but I feel that because it's digital and everything is possible digitally, those faders have gone missing, or those, where one screen can do 5 things, so you don't have those faders that will do that thing. So maybe I think that's the only difference. But I still would, that's the reason why I would, that's why I would bend to drift towards older mixers. But having said that, I love the S11 that I have. It's a 2-channel battle mixer with a screen and all that stuff. So yeah, that's me.
I'm so glad.
What about you, Ashwin?
And I was on mute. I thought I was interrupting Skip, but I'm glad I didn't. But if you before Ashwin you begin, Tuhin mentioned 2000, right, Roland? That had Cosm effects, if I'm not wrong.
Roland DJ 2000.
Yeah, because Roland has always had these causal effects since I don't know how many decades now.
Yeah.
That was the first digital effect, properly into commercial production. So uh, you still get that digital influence in the tone in those mixers, right? I mean, would that be any different than what we have today?
See, I mean, the thing is, it's not really about the tone or things like that. It's basically the amount of control that we had as DJs over the effects, over the filters. Like if you look at the filters specifically on the Roland DJ 2000, the amount of control it had, there's no mixer today that had that kind of control. So you could really do very precise mixing. Like if you wanted to take the highs off a particular track, you could really dial in just that without any resonance and just pull it off.
Okay.
Like it was never produced in the track. It's
So
just completely missing that
But
element.
that was EQ
That
by
you
default,
my
right?
apologies. My
no
apologies
no
to Ashwin. Please
this
begin.
was on the effects.
Also, before that, there are some questions waiting. Ray, that is not a laptop. That is a phone. Please begin.
No, Ashwin has to answer about what's his take on the mixers. Yes,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
yesterday's mixer and today's mixer.
Yeah.
Yesteryear's
Because
mixers, today's
yesteryears
mixers.
Yeah.
rather, yeah.
So at that point of time, even I agree with the fact that mixers haven't really evolved, and honestly, mixers did not require anything extraordinary other than the fact that
Hmm.
it should allow you first of all to be able to cue the tracks, be able to listen to the track, and EQ the track. That is the basic foundation of any good mixer. Of
Good
course,
mixer.
effects, all of that, come on top, because without those things you can actually sharpen your skills of how well you mix between tracks, finding different ways to mix between tracks without
Yeah.
easily just reaching for a reverb or a delay and saying, okay, delay it out, bring this in, whatever. I do agree with the fact that mixers haven't evolved so much, but I remember the first time I got to play on a DJM 600. That was super exciting back
Oh yeah.
then.
Mm.
Because most of the clubs would not spend for a mixer. They would most often have a Gemini or whatever.
Hmm.
Faders would be like noisy.
I have one of
Sometimes,
those right
oh
here.
Oh,
yeah,
the sixer. You just got
Ooh.
the sixer.
Love it.
classic right there.
Love it.
The
If
Is
you
it
guys
is
have
it
played,
is it there on this?
if you guys
Have you
have,
kept it on a frame or what? How is it there?
No. It
Like it
belongs
wasn't
to
just
his
It
lying
wife,
there.
works.
and that was
It
the
still
dowry.
works.
It belonged to his wife, Tanvi.
It's not
That was
mine,
the
yeah.
dowry,
It's my wife's.
basically.
Ashwin, if
Putting
you
it for
played
about
at Outback,
some 10
I'm
years
sure
now.
How
it must
how
have.
old is this? How old
Ajay,
is this mixer?
I think it's about
No, it
12,
looks
13
it
years
looks
old.
like fresh. How is it
It
looking
Got
like
it
it's
is.
serviced.
brand
I got it
new?
serviced. I got it serviced recently. Like about a year
Skip,
Did you
ago, I
change the
got it.
not
faceplate?
everybody, Skip, not
Everything
everybody
is
Bro, but
plays
changed
look at
now.
the
like how
faceplate.
you do.
I'll
Yeah.
just bring it
Mera,
up to the
bro,
camera again.
but look at the faceplate.
Yeah.
Everything looks like shining new. This like
I
Tuhin's
have a
mixers
service
are
guy
like
in
this. How?
Bangalore. I have a guy in Bangalore who will service gear for you. If you give it to him after whatever repairs he does internally, he will use some material that is
Shine
there
it.
on Nishank's
Ah.
walls. You can see that material on Nishank's walls at the behind. The spray that kind of cleans off all the dust. So
nice. My neighbor has to pay for that because of the construction. I didn't do anything. Just to clarify.
मेरा कोई हाथ नहीं है इसमें. So,
हाँ, मेरा कोई
Ashit,
हाथ नहीं है इसमें.
how Ashit, how do
No.
you contribute to audio units first of all? Because I think that is something that we would definitely want to know. And
Sure.
your journey with Ableton, because that is something also I would like for people to know, and myself would want to know like where you at, and if you can give us some secrets, So yeah, what's happening?
Okay, sure. So let me go. So let me start off like way back. I really got into electronic music thanks to the video games I used to play like literally all the time during my childhood. I still remember there was this game called Phantasmagoria, I think, and it had a really
Nishank
sick
would know.
electronic music track. Yeah, maybe he would know.
Yeah.
But
He would know.
yeah, that was my foray into electronic music, and then Ashwin eventually introduced me to DAWs. In fact, he was taking a course on learning how to make beats with Premic, and I just happened to be there during my summer vacations. I think I was 16 or 17 years old, and that really caught. I caught that bug, and then I went back and I
What
made some.
DAW was it?
Cubase.
If I remember,
Cubase.
yeah, it was
Cubase.
Cubase. Yeah.
Yeah, basically all we learned from Premic is put 4 kicks, put 2 snares, put 8 hats. And we were like, okay, enough. Now we've learned it. I can go home and do this.
No,
Now what if you
do
put 5
bangers
hats?
basically.
So yeah, like I took it back from there. In fact, I used to live in Gandhinagar, Gujarat, with my folks back then. I did my schooling and stuff over there. And Ashwin was here secretly being a DJ, which my folks found out about later, thanks
Yeah,
to
we
some
should talk
news
about that.
articles
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Eventually, I made some beats. I sent it back to Ashwin, and in fact, I made some really shitty
I'll
mashups
tell
of.
you what he did. I showed him how to use SoundForge. Okay, so I was using SoundForge a lot
Acid.
to edit tracks like Acid and SoundForge, just to edit tracks and make like these hip hop edits, take acapellas, put them on other beats, all of that. So I showed him, how you can just time correct and do this. This guy took a Mark Knight track, put it on Rang De Basanti vocal, and sent it to me. Okay? And he had a good keen sense of hearing, because this was not the mixed in key days, He had somehow picked 2 tracks which were tonally working. And I said, okay,
The Lair Man is singing on Man with a Red Face.
Yeah.
So fast forward to now. So yeah, I mean, fast forward to now, I'm an Ableton certified trainer as of the last 5 years now, and yeah, so I've been using DAWs for more than 10 years. I think I got into FL Studio. That was my first ever DAW, and the first ever piece of music that I actually finished was, I mean, I'm really embarrassed to say this, but it was our national anthem. I just happened to like program it. Yeah. So I just programmed it and made a beat around it, and that was my first ever piece of music that
I remember that.
I mean, yeah, I even posted this on the Submerge forum, and I got a little flack for it. And I was like, I mean, to defend myself, to defend myself, I was like, what, 15 or 16 years old back then. I had no clue how the internet works.
I still think people don't know how it works.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure, because there's so new stuff coming into the internet.
They think that you make a track, you upload it on the internet, next day everybody will know you.
It's a release, bro. It's a release. It's a release. You post it online, it's a release.
My first release was on the Submerge forum then.
Yeah, Purana Khiladi hai. No, but how did audio units come into being? So you're happy with your DAW, you're enjoying Ableton, and then obviously Ashwin is Inferno. How did I knew for a while it was audio units and Inferno were like both doing stuff, right?
We were both doing
our
own stuff.
So eventually it all came together organically. Like Ashwin introduced me to the forms of electronic music that we know now as deep house and tech house.
Are you trained in any way, like in any music theory, or can you play an instrument and stuff like that?
I can like handle myself on the keyboard for a little while.
But
I'm not like classically trained, but my mom would teach me how to like play keys as a kid, and I eventually like ended up doing a course as well. But I didn't really benefit much from it, and everything that I learned, I mostly learned through YouTube, because that was the only way to learn back then. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Ashwin eventually introduced me to all this music, and I got really passionate about it myself. And then we said one fine day, he said one fine day, let me stop Inferno and let's come together as audio units and start making some music. And it all fell.
Actually, you got 1 point wrong there. So we were doing this parallelly for some time. So,
are you read? Kahani mein kuch bacha hua hai.
Yeah. Plot twist. So at that point of time, I was doing my Inferno thing because it was more of being able to sustain financially as a DJ. At that
this is 2010, right?
Yeah, way before that. Like I started the Inferno project somewhere around 2002. Then for like few years, I was just like a guy who was just uploading mixes on forums on the internet. Like I didn't really have any real gig in a club. I was just using like this very early software called Virtual Turntables, VTT. It's called. It's like a Windows software. It had like 2 decks that would look like a Denon player. You could even have multiple decks. You do Command N, it'll open one more deck. You can have 3, 4, whatever. Channels will get added on the mixer. Literally like a like a deck where you had like a pitch bend wheel, emulating the Denon system basically. So I was using that to make mixes, and I was uploading it on various forums. And then I think around 2003 or 2004 is when I got my chance to play my first few actual gigs in pubs, all of that. So I was doing like a lot of different music with Inferno. I originally started off with hip hop because it was a style of music that I was listening to a lot in my younger days. Of course, the classics. And yeah. So then it eventually moved on to being able to play all kinds of music because residencies demanded that at that point of time. So everything from like retro to Bollywood to rock to house to whatever. Techno wasn't really even a word at that time that was used around in the scene. There was this whole minimal techno, minimal tech is where it sort of started coming. Anyway, so we were doing both these projects for some time, and I was doing the Inferno thing just to sort of buy money for the audio units, gear, or whatever, for just to get things going on. And one day I was playing a gig somewhere, and I was just had that complete flash of what am I doing? I'm playing like terrible Bollywood music over there. And I'm like, okay, this is going to give me some money, but this is not what I wanted to do. Now, maybe I should just sort of venture out into doing something. And we were already like sort of writing music together, and we were having like, these discussions on whether we should do this under the Inferno project, add him as a team member, or start something new or whatever. So at that point of time, yo, Veer, hello, lad, yourself. So at that point of time, we were contemplating what we should do. And we first initially came up with a name called Harmolim, like the art of harmonic. We thought, wow,
man.
Like Nishank is really feeling it. I knew this would be like right
Ashwin is like, he's like, he almost forgot about it. You made him remember the days.
Yeah.
Now
there's a lot I left out from the story.
We came up with the name Harmolim, and we're like, okay, great name, really nice and everything. And those days, any random producer, anyone, we met some Psytrance producer. Okay, cool. Let's send him some tracks. Let's ask him if he can help us how to produce. Anybody random, doesn't matter, because those days a handful of producers literally who were making music. So we made a few tracks under this name, and we didn't obviously release it. And then there was a Sunburn remix contest, Nadia Ali remix contest that we took part in.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. Right, and that track made it to the top 5 remixes or whatever. And somebody told me, like, this name is kind of Harmolim. Like, what is it? I think it was Nikhil.
No.
Chinnappa was like, dude, this name has got to go. It's just not happening. Like, Harmolim, what is this name? Like, I mean, come back and think about it. It's almost like, bro, did you use Bernol or Harmolim? What did you do? Don't worry, Nishank. I got you covered. Like, I got you covered with that. And then we're like, we need a name. So at this point, we had migrated to using Logic from FL Studio. And first thing you see on the screen, audio units. So we're like, okay, this is all right. This is something, maybe we'll change the name later for this remix contest. At least we got to come up with a name. So that's basically how Audio Units was born, with the
Rakesh guessed it.
Yeah.
Did you? What was the track you guys?
No.
I just want to know the name of the song that you released. Was it Nadia Ali which song? Rapture?
No, not
at the end.
It was
Shit, I don't remember the name of the song.
I don't remember the name.
At the end.
Not at the end for sure. It wasn't one of those really big ones. It was a
Love Story.
Love Story.
Oh, yeah.
Love Story. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Not many
I'm gonna
questions,
download that
but
song right
very
now.
few questions. Rakesh wants to know what synth are you using, Ashwin?
No, that the synth behind me.
What synth are you not using?
The one over here. This is a MS-20 Mini, and this
is it the MIDI one or is it the actual MS-20?
No, Mini one.
The new one.
Mini.
The reissue.
The boutique series type.
Mini. Yes, sir.
No, but this is all analog, unlike the boutique series.
Right.
What's on the left?
Okay.
There's only one on the back.
Ash is copy pasting stuff from
On
Google,
the left,
but he
on
also
this
agrees
side,
that BGM
on
600
this
is
side
good.
is Beat Step Pro Arturia.
It's the-
Oh,
sequence.
nice.
Do you,
They
you
do
have
Washington.
What?
What?
We didn't hear what you
Sorry.
said.
What?
No, this one is a Beat Step Pro over here. Somebody asked if I
Hmm.
washed it with Nirma. I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, it's washed.
Yes, because of how white it looks.
Washing powder, Nirma.
Dun,
Yeah,
dun,
there's a
dun.
Tech House remix of that, Nishank. Do you know about it? Washing powder, Nirma, Tech House remix.
What?
Yeah. In fact,
Can
one
you
of the
please
lads,
keep me away
we
from
in
it?
RC had
I
sort of
don't.
educated all of us about it on the internet. Like, if you could throw down the link, it would be nice. Nishank would play it in his next stream for sure.
Sure.
Washing powder, Nirma, Tech House remix.
Sure.
It's in Delhi often.
Let me actually look for it.
DJs don't play this track. It plays itself in Delhi often.
Nirma Tech House. Okay.
So you guys have like basically gone from, playing DJ sets to playing what now people call hybrid
Yeah.
sets, right? Like,
Yes.
so what's that journey been like? And is it sort of like an ever evolving bubble that you guys are working on in terms of, your workflow and also the way your music is being presented?
Cool. Let
Yeah,
me start off and
definitely.
lead it on to Ashrit briefly. So just to tell you the transition between, playing at these clubs, Denon machines, whatever, me doing my solo stuff. So when we basically decided that let's start playing together, because he could sort of play the keys and he wasn't, Ashrit didn't come from a DJ background. So that's when we sort of decided, let's do something different, let's sort of have a system where, we do something live with our DJ sets. And then you can take over from there, Guru, in terms of how we started with our first few
Yeah.
hybrid sets.
So, Tuhin, the answer to your question is in your question itself. It's an ever-evolving process for sure. I think we started off using the Machina on stage.
Mm.
That was the first
Yeah,
piece of.
I remember. I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. And it was a nightmare to get it in sync.
I remember that.
Yeah. We had
And
to
it still
put
is
on the
apparently. It still is.
metronomes, you had to put on both the metronomes in the headphone.
Both and
match
plus,
the metronomes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, imagine
fact,
you guys
I
were
think-
still playing like that. I was mixing from a CDJ to that. It was, yeah.
No, at least in the
Only
CDJ
thing
you
was
can
helping.
bend.
No, I was bending it. So basically, I was making like I said, view audio units and blank are pretty much the same time. So
Yeah.
technology wise, we were kind of growing in the same way. What I was
That's
doing
true.
was I was syncing via Ableton. So I was using machine as the slave for Ableton, and Ableton made there was an option to do a beat sync. That's what I was doing.
That's exactly what I used to do as well.
Yeah. Beat sync with tractor, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, with the
MIDI sync,
the
MIDI
thing
sync.
on top, on the top left, you can on the top
the
left you
link,
can do a
link.
beat.
MIDI sync. Okay.
No, before link there was a way to there was an on the top
Basically,
left there
push
always
pull
is.
Oh, yeah. I remember. I'm
You're
not
talking
sure what
about
it's
the
called.
push
Yeah.
pull
Yeah.
Ableton, right?
So I used to
Yeah.
mix
Yeah, it's like a push pull for your MIDI time
bend.
slot.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it was
Yeah.
Can somebody please let
correct. So I
Ashrit
used to do
finish?
that long time back.
Nobody lets him talk.
Thanks.
Go on.
So I think I even remember using this Teenage Engineering OP1 on stage for
OP1?
a long time.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So that had a
Yeah, I
looping
remember.
function.
I remember seeing you guys work with that also.
That was a
It
time
was
when
actually
we
it
used
was
to
the
play.
first time I actually saw the OP1
OP1.
like in person.
Yeah. I think that was at
Yeah.
Social, if I'm not wrong, Tuhin.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
2016,
OP1.
2015,
Yeah.
16.
15 maybe.
15, 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was again a nightmare and a challenge to use on stage. But I would say back then my timing to play some stuff on top of a track was much better than it is now, because I'm completely out of touch with playing an instrument now that I use sequencers and whatnot to program everything. Eventually moved on to the push, and I think that's the best decision that I've ever taken.
Also the rhythm for some time in between, we used to use the drum machine, the electron rhythm.
Yeah, I mean, I think we
Rhythm.
remember using
Yeah,
it for
yeah.
just one or two gigs. Yeah,
1 or 2 gigs.
but
Yeah, I
it
mean, we
was a
were
little
trying
too
various
big.
things at that point of time. What works, what is sort of easy
I
to
remember
implement.
a zone, this thing also, at the zone four fader
K2.
controller,
K2.
K2, yeah. You had
Hmm.
that also a part of your setup for some time, right?
K2,
No, K2 I don't remember, but I remember using the
Okay,
BCR
okay.
2000 Behringer
BCR.
BCR,
classic.
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
yeah, BCR, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this
Which
But they're
was, I
making
remains,
a
think,
yeah,
new
we
version, by the
we
way.
played our first ever Sunburn gig. This
Correct.
was
Yeah.
on that.
we like, sort of prepared like a set on Ableton Live, and it was kind of like a mashup of tracks and instruments, and that was a lot of fun.
Like,
And now, yeah, I mean,
I
fast forward
did.
to now, Ableton Push is the way to go forward,
Hmm.
because thanks to Link, that really is
Yeah.
like a game changer.
Okay, before we
What mics are
go
both of you
further,
using here?
So I have the Samsung C1U Pro.
Ooh, nice. Ashwin?
MacBook.
Okay.
Best mic ever.
Apple,
And
Apple,
both of us are sitting in a treated room. That's probably
Copy.
making a difference.
Copy. And
Yeah.
it's a treat room.
That's true.
Are you guys in a room next to each other?
No. We are in
We are in
Okay,
completely different
areas. JP
locations.
Nigger and Indra Nigger.
And
So you have
I would feel like
studios, like
we want
separate
to know
studios.
who's the older one.
Yeah, Nishank doesn't know who's the older one. He says both of us look old. So let's take a
Yeah.
poll from the audience. Who do you think is the older one?
I think
That's Keith,
Okay, the
Jay,
fact that I
both
don't
of
know
you are
about
here.
all these old school mixers, that makes me the younger one.
yeah. I thought it was a kind of dead
Not
giveaway there.
necessarily. We have a 10-year-old,
Yeah,
10 or 14-year-old. Ansh, how old are you, bro?
Okay, Nishank, can you
Who
please
knows?
bring up the questions, the pending questions?
Dhruv asks, what is your take on the Indian techno scene of today? That's for
Yeah.
Ashwin and Ashwin.
So I think it's a great scene right now. Lots of people doing it, and lots of variations of what people call techno. Like Tuhin's gonna high five me on that, but it's a great scene nonetheless right now.
Yeah.
At least there is a lot of exposure right now. People, we're not like as dated as it was before in terms of finding out what music is even out there in the scene. Because back in the day, Tuhin, do you remember the HTFR catalogs? The
Yeah,
hard
of
to
course.
find
Yeah.
record catalogs. That's what we used to subscribe to and basically get to know what music is playing in UK, what records are out there. No internet, no
Yeah.
charts, whatever. So I think it's a great scene, and we have such good artists in the country as well right now. So I mean, this is a question that gets asked so often. So there are no new answers to that, but I think it's a great scene. If you have anything in particular about it, you can probably.
Let's get Ashrit's opinions for somebody who's like sort of like had a kickstart into the techno scene. What his take on that is.
Okay, I mean, I have nothing more to add on to that except that it's quite a thriving scene at the moment. I mean, yeah, like Ashwin said, like what's possible now was not at all possible. Like even like 8 years ago.
Yeah,
10
actually,
years
I
ago.
was having this conversation with somebody at my gig on Sunday in Prism in Hyderabad, and they said, bro, techno has become the mainstream, and that's a very, very good thing in general for the music community, because it allows for that many more people to get into all sorts of electronic music, whether it's tech house or techno or whatever, liquid drum and bass or glitch or stuff. So it's good for the music scene.
Definitely.
No, actually, I want to clarify if he means what is the Indian techno scene or what is the Indian techno scene, because somebody actually came to I think this was at Leon at Straight Up and said, bro, can you play some Indian techno? He was completely flabbergasted like what that guy means. So which is why I want to clarify if you mean what is the Indian techno scene or Indian techno scene.
See, both audio units and Tuhin Mehta, you are techno producers, correct? As an artist, what is this? How is the scene for you? let's
good as
recommend.
long as we get paid for the gigs. It's great, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
as somebody who doesn't produce as much music as Audio Units does, for me as a DJ, it's very liberating now because I can just play whatever I want to play and people are accepting and open-minded about it. Like,
Yeah.
let me put this out there. I never used to get very many gigs in Hyderabad. There was one promoter who said, "Oh, Tuhin's sounds don't work in Hyderabad or will not work in Hyderabad." And I was just like, "Oh, okay, that's your opinion." And like, my Sunday's gig in Hyderabad was a testament to why, if you keep an open mind, you have a great sound system, you can do wonders with any kind of music, not just techno. And I had a great gig, and I was really surprised. I was like really up there with the BPM, and people were taking it. So I don't know where this promoter got his idea from, but maybe he needs to have a firmware upgrade.
hey, come to Delhi, bro. After getting drunk, we don't even need the tech house remix. We will dance to Washing Powder Nirma just like that. Okay, Rakesh is asking, please talk about the V10 mixer experience. Have you had your hands on
Have you
V10?
guys had the chance to play on that?
I
Very
haven't
brief.
had my
Honestly,
experience with it.
not a proper experience, I would say. I mean, I got to check it out at this thing at
Oh, yeah,
Soundglitz briefly,
we met.
but yeah. I mean, if Nishank gets back on what I asked him in the green room,
Yeah.
pick this thing soon.
Ha, ha, ha. Sorry, Rakesh. That's not an appropriate thing to do.
Well,
My
if he takes too long to get back to you, then you guys can always come home and check it out from
Oh
next
yeah,
week.
definitely. I thought you were going to say if it takes too long, directly right to Pioneer Japan.
Let's do that anyway. Let's do that anyway, too. And I want to check out.
Yeah,
the
do that anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, come. You guys come over next week.
yeah. We'll stream from
Cool.
there only live.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, actually. How's the weather in Bangalore?
Beautiful.
Very good.
Yeah,
Now we are
nice.
getting into small talk, is it?
No,
Okay,
this
so
is nice.
since this getting digress, I want to lead further into Ashwin. You had given me a little hint as to where you guys were taking your project. Audio units, especially when it comes to performing live, right? Like sort of like redefining yourselves as artists and the way you present your music. Right now, you obviously have a hybrid setup. You're using Ableton Live and you're using the Push 2. So when are you making that foray into the Eurorack and performing live with the Eurorack, like a proper DAW-less setup?
Dollars. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we want to do that. Me and Ashit have been trying to find a time to jam a little bit, but not so much with the modular. I've been really neck deep into the Electron Octa track. I think the Electron ecosystem is very easy and conducive to do that. Is Ashit stuck? Like that smile just lasted for too long. Anyway, yeah. So, oh shit, he's stuck. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
No,
so we want to
he's
make
coming back.
our progress
must be
into
the
that
wine he's sipping.
with
Sip in, sip in.
And Ashit's really good on the rhythm, and I think I know the Octa track fairly well, deeply. So we want to sort of get started with that because with the modular, it's like, while you're getting your rack, you've turned the oscillator knob is turned a little bit to the right. Nightmare, absolute
Yeah.
nightmare. So I think we want to first start with that kind of an approach and then move towards
Yeah.
using the Euro rack. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I've looked at acts that are using purely Eurorack in their dollars approach, and then I've seen acts where for no better example than Octave One, they are using tiny like
Synthesizers, drum
modules,
machines,
yeah,
pedals.
different modules, different, yeah, and I just found like their approach was more sort of exacting, if you know what I mean, like everything was more precise with the way
Right.
they were going about it. Like you could actually see how two tracks were getting fused together and they were moving it forward. And I sort of found that a bit lacking in the Eurorack,
Yeah, true. I
setups
mean,
and
if you
stuff
go
that
into
I've
the
seen.
Eurorack domain, it's first of all very tricky with so many wires and patch cables to even sort of adjust something. But
Yeah.
I was recently looking at one of Surgeon's live sets. He has a very interesting approach. He basically uses the Turing machine as the center of his sound generation source. So it's a module where you have random voltages coming in, going through a quantizer. So you have a scale. So the Turing machine, if you turn it to the right, it will basically lock the voltages. So you have a locked loop. You turn it back to the left, it'll bring in new voltages. So that's one of the ways that Surgeon does his live set, just using the Turing machine and a looper. So he's essentially got
Right.
one loop going on of a sequence, again brings in new notes, loops that back into the looper. So I think that a similar approach used also by Blavan. So that's, I think, a cool approach with Eurorack. Otherwise, if you have to dive deep and keep adjusting the decay of each of your drums and open your filters with all your patch cables going, it can be a little bit of a nightmare. But I mean, it's great if you're doing some generative stuff or drones or
Yeah.
IDM or whatever. So yeah, each
Awesome.
one is
I think there are a couple of more questions, Nishank.
Dead
Rakesh want to know,
5.
please talk about your monitors.
Yeah, he said Dead 5 setup reminds me the same.
Which is helmet or the rest of it?
No, but he has a kick-ass Joel, right? He has
Joel,
kick-ass.
Silverman.
Yeah, the Eurorack setup that he has is like walls of Euroracks.
Oh man, this is
That's
nothing.
not a-
This
that's
is just
not a
one
rack,
brick.
bro. That's a
This is
castle.
just one brick in the wall compared to
Yeah, that is
Dead
a
Mouse.
that's a castle. It's not a rack.
That's a castle.
Yeah. Oh, but Hans Bieger, that's one guy who does it really well with the
Yeah,
Eurorack.
great studio. Great
Yeah.
studio. Great photographer also.
Bob asks, can you tell us about setting up a studio, like instruments, bass line, and all? And who's the older one?
And who's
Oh,
the
that question
older
is still being asked, is it?
one? Oh, that's the question. Okay, you guys need to guess who's the older one. But about setting up a studio on baseline. Wait, that is like.
I
a
think
little
he's just talking about
confusing.
like the gear.
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily need to set up a studio these days, Bob. I mean, Bob is like how some of the people in Bangalore refer to dudes. Yo, Bob, what up, Bob? So, yeah, I don't think you need to necessarily set up a studio, but if you need to, just start with a good computer, good headphones, monitor, whatever you prefer. Acoustics is not really important. It's nice when you have good acoustics in a room, but you can spend some time and understand your room and know what sounds good, what doesn't sound good, whatever. So we've got some articles on the blog. If you want, just head over to the Beatworks blog. There are articles on how you can set up a studio under 30K, under 50K, whatever. So that would be possibly more helpful.
Yeah, and they also want to know about the monitors, bro. There's a
So
there's
that
a
is
guessing game about what monitors you're
no,
using.
it's not the 1080. I don't know what 1080 is. You mean my
Genelex, I
display
think.
monitor? Because
the
1080 would
No, I
would
think he's talking
correspond to
about
the display.
No, Genelec, I think.
No. These are the Dynaudio Core 59, which is in the background. So the 1080, I don't know. Oh yeah, 1080s
Genelec.
would probably be the
I
Genelec.
think he meant 8010. 8010.
8010 hota hai.
Like
And
has an
8010 is too
Because
tiny.
1080 is like 1080 is this. Yeah, this is a 1080 display from Micromax. Horrible monitor. Has like bunch of pixels. Like Ableton in gray color looks like purple color on this. Basically. So,
इतने पैसे में इतना ही मिलेगा.
white.
Nice.
Yeah, I hope
No,
that
I've been to
answers
this
your
room there. Ashwin is actually streaming from, and these sounds good. Is it the same room? I think Ashit was there when I went to the
Yeah.
place. This is
That's
the same
right.
room. It sounds good. They're good
Yeah.
sounding monitors
Are
for
you
sure.
guys using a sub by any chance?
Oh,
We
man.
tried one, but
The room
it's
just rattled completely. We got the Dynaudio matching sub for this, and everything started shaking. Door, hinges, everything on top. We're like, okay.
But do you when if you made it down, did because I just installed a sub for my setup and it just changed the game totally. But having said that, I have a 5-inch monitor, so for me it's a game changer. But what was your reason for like just because it was too loud, or were you really
Yeah, it
able
was
to
too
see
much. It was too
a
much. No,
lower?
that particular sub was too much because it was a Dynaudio match sub for this one. But I'm sure we can use a smaller sub. The thing
Smaller
about
sub,
these
yeah.
monitors is they cut off at about 40 hertz. So
Yeah.
we did
Oh,
miss a yeah.
That's
did
it.
miss
It
a
only
little-
goes to 40.
Yeah, it cuts off at 40.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
then what it cuts off there, it makes up for its stereo width, its clarity with the mids and all
Yeah.
of that. Because prior to this, we were using the LYD 48, which was
Okay.
really nice. Cuts off at about 30, 35 and nice and warm.
Yeah.
We could use another sub, but then, the music that we make is not so subby unless you're doing like really deep, long tailed kicks with hip hop or whatever. With techno, there isn't so much of that deep sub. So I guess, this is fine. And honestly, like the past few months with the pandemic, Ashad's been writing most of the music in his home studio with Yamaha HS5s. So
HS50s.
no complaints there at all.
Our first
Guys,
ever pair of monitors, which
I
again
just
came
put
back to me as dowry.
I just put myself on mute. I just put myself on mute and I heard the washing powder Nirma mix. Oh my God, it's brilliant. Oh my God.
Just a quick question about that sub that you were using. What was the driver size? Do you remember by
I
any
think
chance?
6 inches. I think it was
No.
6.
Guru,
No,
it was
no.
18 or something. What 6?
18.
Bro, how can you have an 18-inch? Why will you
No,
use 18?
no,
It won't be
it
big,
won't
bro.
No.
18
It
would
won't
be
be
fine.
18.
Oh yeah. It was the 18S. I'm not sure if it's an 18-inch sub.
Bro,
I'm
18-inch
pretty
size
sure
will be too
it was
big.
this big. It was like the size of a small child,
No,
It was like
it
a
was
cage.
definitely huge, no doubt. I'm
But
just
does
taking
not make sense.
the specs.
They'll be
Check
too
it.
big.
Check it.
Yeah, that's
Bro, it's not like this Shivaji Nagar 6-inch
9
sub,
inch, 9 inch.
with auto.
9-inch
9
sub.
inch?
9 inch.
9-inch, right? 9-inch, yeah.
Fair
BBD
enough. I
sub.
mean, but you know that when we talk about inches, we always double it up. So, on that note,
Okay, there's
Question
What
another
sound
for
card are
all.
you using?
all of us.
Motu.
Okay, I use the
Right.
Focusrite 6i6 at home.
Okay,
Ah.
and in the studio?
What would you recommend to someone who's a new producer? You
Arey
think the
Baba,
new
let's
the
finish the whole
small
question
Focusrite is
first.
good?
No,
Evo.
But he's
Motu.
answered the question.
no.
Oh,
It's for
Evo Moto.
everybody. What are you using in the studio?
Oh,
The Motu
That's the one,
Ultralight
huh?
MK3. That's what
Oh,
we have.
nice.
Ashwin, you?
Ultralight MK3.
11 साल से नहीं
Yeah,
बदला वो
Motu Ultralight MK3 here.
बहुत
Ashwin's
बढ़िया
using the Focus.
What about you guys?
6i6.
I use the 18i20
Okay.
Behringer.
I'm using the complete
Starlet.
or A6.
Starlet.
Sorry, Skip. Which one are you using?
Complete A6. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's it.
Okay, Native Instruments. And Tuhin?
Yeah.
I have the Cranbourne 500 R8 and also have the Antelope Amari.
Oh, wow. Super.
Lovely.
But I use the reference monitor system. That really helps a lot.
SonarWorks.
Sonarworks.
SonarWorks. Yeah.
I tried it for a bit. I really liked it, but then I stopped using it because I had to do online classes without it, and switching back and forth between the SonarWorks sound and the regular sound was a bit tricky.
Yeah, Bob, that's a
You know
tip,
what?
man.
You should speak to Premik because he uses it while he's doing his online classes as well, and it seems to work fine for him.
Okay. Yeah, I think maybe I should talk
Yeah,
to him.
just have a
figure out.
chat with him as to how he's got a
Bob is
different
asking idiot.
routing software which is basically doing all the internal audio
I think you
routing.
can
So
do it if you run it through loopback or whatever and just do a little bit of
yeah, it's some kind of loopback
Routing.
audio device.
Thing is, I haven't found a software that I can load SonarWorks in between my DAW and speakers, because I have to load it right now on the master track, and that's
Correct. Yeah.
probably not the right way for my students to hear the sound.
Right.
What about ground control?
But your student should be. I don't think your student should be hearing the bypass sound.
That's what the problem is, Skip.
Yeah,
If
okay, I
I'm on the
understand.
master,
Yeah.
then I'm hearing the SonarWorks sound, and it only sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Not-
Correct.
not-
Correct. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
There is another question from Bob.
He's asking about the TD3.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool synth emulation of an acid synth. You could probably experiment with ABL3, the soft synth plugin, and see if acid sounds are for you, and then possibly buy the
Yeah.
TD3 because
I do have an amazing meme on Behringer on my Instagram if you would like to check it. That
Yeah.
will help you answer your
Also,
question.
Bob, I'm just going to add that if you're in the market to buy the TD3, I'd say hold on because there's an upgraded version of the TD3 that's come out
modded one.
Yeah.
with the mods, and I
Based
think
on
it's
the
just a
Devilfish.
little more money than the
Correct.
original one. Please wait and buy that if you're buying it because
Yeah,
I think
because the
that will
TD3
be
is a one-trick pony, basically. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great. Like, if you're doing techno sequences, acid, it's great. But That's
Yeah.
the sound palette. I don't know what kind of music you want to make, but yeah, like Tuhin said, just look out for the modded one, that has like a few cool quirks.
Will it play Washing
Yeah.
Powder Nirma?
Oh yeah,
It
it will
depends if we
wash
get
it out.
I
if
think
Veer
that's all we
programs it,
want.
it might.
That's all we wanted. Yes, Bob, go ahead.
Um,
But I recommend.
Rakesh want to know about mixing and mastering. So if you have a master, what is your master plugin? What do you? Yeah.
Tuhin, maybe you can take that one since that's what you've been sort of getting into with all your
Um,
outboard gear.
yeah. So I mean, I'm not really using any plugins for the mastering. It's like everything is currently outboard gear, depending on the sort of track that I'm working on. It's, I have a series of, I have color boxes and I have like dynamics control. So I have the Neve 542s, which are the tape emulations. So it really adds a lot of very nice bottom end, very well shaped bottom end without sort of
Very
losing
well-shaped bottom. I think I
with
remember.
it doesn't you don't end up with a low end
With a
response
flat
which sort
bottom.
of loses focus. I also have the SSL Fusion, which again is great for adding color and EQ and high frequency dynamics. Then basically the whole bunch of EQs and compressors and limiters. It's the same approach you can use with your plugins. It's just finding the right chain for the tracks. Like there is no one setup that's going to work across all the tracks. You may have to, change the order. Sometimes you put your, EQ before your dynamics, sometimes the dynamics before the EQ. It's really based on how good or bad your two bus output is. That's my opinion.
You guys, Ashrit and Ashwin, you as in you work as a team, right? Like when you don't have individual approach when it comes to like mastering as a karna hai waise. So what's your chain like? Like for example, Tuhin's chain is in a certain analogish way. What's your chain like? And if someone's starting off, what
Yeah.
would be like your advice to that person?
Okay, so Ableton has a bunch of these mastering presets, and some of them
Okay,
sound really good. Like, I mean, if you got a decent mix
you're
down
talking
and
about
you
11.
11,
Yeah,
10 also,
through all
yeah,
the versions, yeah.
all the versions.
Hmm.
So if you've got a clean mix, like where everything is, it has its own space, and you throw one of those mastering presets on the master, it should give you an idea of what it can sound like. And also, if you just open up the chain and explore what is going on in there,
Yeah,
that might give you a better idea as a beginner to understand what a mastering chain is in the first place.
Or even
So
like an
you're saying
ozone,
that
like even
no, so
ozone, for
you
example, has a bunch of
so you're
great
saying
presets.
someone who's got only Ableton, you're saying that he can actually put out a mastered track just with Ableton, no stress.
but bro, see, that's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Like, what is mastering?
definitely.
Like, it's just a term. Like, it's the final
Yeah, I'm
polish
just no, I'm
for
just
your track.
clarifying like for people. I understand the
Yeah,
whole idea, but I was thinking to make people understand this whole thing because
Yeah, but
a lot of
that's
time
what I'm saying.
what
Like,
happens people get
you can do everything
this
inside
thing.
the DAW. Like,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
whether you're using Ableton or you're using Logic or you're using Cubase
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah. That's
whatever.
but
something that I
whether
want to
it's
do
going to
basically.
sound good or not, whether it's going to sound good or not, is completely going to boil down to how well you can like hear the sound and
Yeah.
how well you can tune the frequencies in the master.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
definitely avoid using any of the online mastering platforms. They are absolutely shit.
Yeah.
That would be my only advice. Avoid
Press
that.
a button.
AI, bro. AI.
Yeah, yeah. I was just having fun with SoundCloud the other day. I've uploaded a master track. It's like, do you want to master it? I'm like, yeah, go on, master it. I should probably make a video of that and put on YouTube. That'll be fun. So
You really should.
Yeah.
Like,
don't use
sort of,
any of those ones. But
yeah.
yeah, like Ashrit said, start with first like maybe an EQ in the chain. Getting rid of frequencies that shouldn't be there, because it's also about your process of how your chain is. So if you maybe start with EQ, clean up some of the frequencies that are resonant, whatever, then get into a little bit of compression. A good habit is to, instead of driving a compressor hard, using 2 or 3 compressors that are doing a little bit of work for you. Eventually a limiter if you want an exciter or mid-side processing. There's a lot you can do, but you can actually learn from the presets like Ashrit said. You could load one of those presets and switch on and
Yeah.
off each device to see what little bit
What's
of work
going
it's
on?
doing.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
times in the beginning, I mean, even we used to sort of didn't know jack shit about mastering in the beginning, we would just put an
Yeah.
EQ and make these cuts that would look like underwears on the EQ, limiters and literally you have all these cuts that look like literally crazy, like it's going down deep like this. It's like, what is that? It's like a thong at
The
your
thong.
500 hertz. Tell people, yo, I got a thong at 500, and
Bro, it's a cool name for a
little-
song, like Thong at 500.
thong at 500, and something phallic at about 5 kilohertz, something that's round and like this. Throw some limiters, whatever, like any plugin, like anything that's making it louder. You must have seen all these memes about sound goodizer, using like 15 of them in your
Sound goodizer.
sound goodizer.
Yeah, that's a plugin on FL. If I'm getting that right.
So, what's your what are your go-to plugins right now for say a go-to compressor or a go-to a limiter or a go-to EQ? Like what's that?
Okay, so I have a few go-to compressors. Like when I want to compress stuff that's not very percussive, I always
WinZip.
go to the CLA2A.
WinZip.
Okay.
And if I'm doing some stuff on percussive elements like kicks and claps and snares and all of that, I tend to use the SSL compressor.
So the LA2A that you're talking about is UA?
So I don't
any
have access
emulation.
to the.
Native Instrument also has a LA2A.
Yeah.
Those could work
The
as well, but
universal audio,
I don't know. I
electronics.
prefer the Waves one over the Native
Waves.
Instruments one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And which the other one? These are all waves, basically. What you're saying? Just
Not all of them, but yeah, the
mention that as well.
CLA2A is something I prefer from the Waves one. But I also use the glue compressor quite a bit inside of Ableton.
Ableton.
Yeah.
That's a solid compressor.
Quite nice, yeah. And as far as EQs are concerned, I use Pro Q3 most often, Fab Filter. And if I wanna add like color to something and not do like a very surgical type of thing, I use EQs from Plugin Alliance. We have a subscription
Plugin
to that.
Alliance.
I would highly recommend it.
Amazing plugins.
Bro, I'm so like I think I'm gonna do that. Like I was
Just do
thinking
it.
between
Do it. It's
Slate
totally worth
Audio and Plugin Alliance, which one is like Konsa kare.
Yeah.
So
I know, man. Like, because
I mean,
a friend of
see,
mine.
a little better,
the thing
I
is,
think,
you can't
because
go wrong. You can't go wrong with the Plugin
Yeah.
Alliance because
I think
even if you
Slate has
subscribe,
more for mixing and that kind of stuff with
mixing,
plugins.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Crazy plugins like what is that one? BYOM, build your own modular, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Biome. Yeah,
Ridiculous.
Unfiltered Audio is the company.
Audio.
They have some insane, like forward-thinking plugins.
What are you doing? You have the subscription-based thing, right?
Yeah.
so
So we pay
it's
like
like
how much?
$150
a month.
Yeah.
$24 a month, and we have access to all of their plugins, even if it's
All
like
of them.
brand new.
Yeah.
And you can split it between like two people because it works on two computers at the same time.
Yeah.
So Skip, I think
nice.
maybe that will, make the decision easier for you.
Yeah.
Done. No, I think I was just thinking whether to go about Slate or this. So
Yeah, I mean, even I've heard that battle between Slate and Plugin Alliance, but even I don't know which one to choose. I just went ahead with Plugin Alliance.
So
and
you're
it
happy.
Plugin
I just wanted to hear.
Plugin Alliance has a lot like
To
their
offer.
palette is a lot broader. Yeah, in terms of the kind of effects that they're putting out as plugins.
Yeah, but I've heard great stuff about the Slate plugins as well.
Slate's also very good.
Slate. Yeah.
Question.
Question.
Last question.
Okay, I'm gonna
I didn't
answer
understand
that.
your
Last
question.
question.
If you have to take music to Ashwin, would you premix them or raw bounced tracks? Like, what do you mean?
So,
Take it.
okay, Rakesh, first of all, I don't have to take music to Ashwin because I'm his ghost producer. Yeah.
So
I
Ashwin is
make
the guy who
music
says
and show it to Ashwin, and he's the guy who gives me like the right feedback as to what's working and what's not. And
so
sometimes
Ashwin
I
is the
go
guy
back
who
to
says कि यार वो आवाज क्यों नहीं आ रहा, वो
the
आवाज जो
host-
आता है वो
An
दे रहा
effective
था
host's job is to
Kick
tell
चाहिए,
who to
kick.
haunt. No, an
Well,
effective
sir.
host's work is to tell who to haunt. What is the point of haunting people who don't see a ghost?
He's a different theory. अभी अपने आप को सेव कर रहा है.
But yeah, if I had to take some music to anybody, even if it's not Ashwin,
Ashwin is still not saying Ashwin.
Anybody?
I would premix it. I would premix it to an extent, and some stuff
because
like
it has to sound presentable. End of the day, when you
Yeah.
if you want your ideas to be understood properly, Like, I mean, you can't give some Yoda kind of talk, basically. It has to be straightforward and
Mix brought
proper.
have you.
Music have you pre-mix.
Making by 4/4 by music.
Yeah, I hope that answers your
Nice.
question, Rakesh.
So is this a common practice that you would like as a mixing engineer as well? So for example, say if I want to give you a track, you would prefer a a drum bus, like a bus four. Say if it's a decent four
Mhm.
buses will do the job. So would you like four buses or would you like individual elements?
I would rather have individual elements because
Yeah.
along with whatever creative effects there are on those individual elements. Like I don't
Okay.
want like EQs and compressors on these elements because that's the stuff I would like to do.
You would like
But
to do.
the
Yeah.
reverbs,
But also, it's nice
distortion,
sometimes to have a version of a mix according to how you
Correct.
want it to
Correct.
sound with whatever
Reference mix
processing.
kind of like that.
You can
yeah,
give
Yeah.
a version with whatever processing EQ, so that
Hmm.
the mixing engineer hears and knows what you're sort of aiming to achieve.
Yeah.
yeah,
So you would say that a good practice would be to basically use buses as mixes rather than inserts, because effects for
Really
effects. So
depends
that
on the.
when you're no, I'm just in
yeah,
terms of because I use Ableton. So if I
right.
want to give someone say Ashrit a mix down and he wants effects separately, the only way to do it is not to use inserts, just to use them
That's
as
right.
buses.
Correct,
So
correct.
Yes.
basically, yeah. So basically, I
Yeah.
give you like five buses separate
Yeah.
of
I
five
got
clips
it.
that I've used, and then upar pura sab kuch. Okay. I just wanted to know like what would be a mixing engineer's approach and what would he like to do. So yeah.
I think you got that covered.
Yeah, depends. Like sometimes you don't need to give the buses, you just give your premix so that the engineer
Hmm.
hears it and knows, okay, this is what you're sort of looking for in your final
Yeah.
product.
Yeah.
And a few
Is
references would also help in terms of what
Yeah.
the artist wants to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, like a good reference, like 5 minutes of silence, great reference.
is premix plural of premic?
Uh, it's very
That's
jolly. I'll
the
tell you that much.
Nishant ne
Amazing, great one, man.
ये इसने मतलब he's the what do you call it? Sing a dialogue of the year मारा अभी इसने.
अरे नहीं यार, but
Top
thank
class,
you,
top
thank you for
class.
this. I'm gonna as soon as this ends, I'm gonna listen to the whole Washing Powder Nirma Techno Mix track. Guys, the link is right
Tech
there.
house,
Please
bro.
check it out.
Tech house.
Tech House. Please check this out. Thank you so much, Veer. You are really a Veer. You're also Ratan and Chaudhary
So
of our hearts.
so please we have still not spoken about Beatworks as a school for DJing and stuff like that. So what's
Yeah,
what's
so give
happening
us
there?
a
Like yeah,
A
what's
lot has
Are
happened.
the load on
are
that?
you on
Yeah.
site?
Are you on site? What do you mean?
Are you
the
Beatworks?
on
school.
site? Are you like
Yeah, this is on site. This is literally Beatworks where I
I
am.
know people don't, so please
Yeah.
answer.
So, yeah, I mean, we started the school around 2012, right out of our bedroom, basically just offering lessons to some friends, just so that we could get more confident about what we're learning. That eventually, also Ashrat used to write a lot of blogs, like anything that he would come across, new plugin, whatever, go on WordPress, put a little blog about it, or make these YouTube videos. That's where Beatworks sort of evolved from. And then we were in a really small place earlier above my uncle's hospital, which is definitely a little story to tell, because you had to walk through the hospital reception and get up to the studio, because that's the only place we could get without a security deposit, A, and B, with somebody being okay for a music place, because everybody was like, music studio, no, I'm not going to give you my place, basically. So we started out of there, and initially we just started offering, very small batches, just two people in a batch, because that's all the room could accommodate. And then eventually we moved to this building about 5 years ago. And yeah, I mean, we offer all sorts of courses. Right now, we've also started one-on-one courses that we're offering online for people on specific topics that they want to learn, because we realize sometimes there are people who know some of the basics. They just want to learn, a few things. But we are also progressing towards going online with a lot of recorded courses. So we have a new website that's going to come up very shortly with a bunch of like recorded courses and stuff like that. And yeah, I primarily handle the DJ department and the marketing, and I will hand it over to Ashrit for what he
And
does.
yeah, I handle the music production department, and we have a lot of exciting things in store. And this is the first time we're going
Thank you,
public
Ronak.
with the fact that we're going to put up a new website, which is in the works.
Awesome.
It's been in the works for a long time now. Maybe another couple of months, and you all
Good
should be
things
able
take time. Good things take time.
Mm.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
did Ashwin reveal a secret? Are you guys gonna have a word about this after this?
What? Reveal a secret? What? Sorry, I didn't hear you there. What?
let the
What,
cat
what,
out of
what?
the bag.
What was your question? I didn't hear you. Monkey.
Nothing.
Monkey.
It's in the past.
Past.
I'm
All
getting free washing powder, Nirma. Yay! Woo!
Yeah, you can
Now
wash
he's gonna
that
have a
stain
white
off
back.
your wall, with some Nirma.
No.
Yeah, he's gonna have a white background now.
This is my love. Why would I remove
What's your thoughts
all
with
of
it,
my
Krishna?
love?
It's actually a child. I have a feeling it's your child.
Yeah. It was going to be a chapri, so now it's on the wall, not in the world.
Awesome.
Pocket full
All
of
right.
sunshine.
It's been an hour and 10, 11
Okay,
minutes,
yeah.
guys, now.
So,
And I believe let's call it a day.
All right.
Yeah.
If you're
Let's sign
kicking us
off
out,
with Ronak giving a good feedback on Beatworks. If you can
thank
put
you,
that up
Ronak.
on screen.
Thank you for the
thanks,
nice
Ronak.
words.
Thank you so much for that.
Cheers.
Hope you're well.
All right. Amazing.
Nobody
I've
likes to
been
see
to the
me.
place. It's
All
been a
right,
crazy
Ronak,
place
I
actually.
will
It's a
remember
really, really
this.
nice place.
Yeah.
What?
Sorry, I'm
Nothing.
saying that I've been to the studio and it's a really, really nice place. And I actually did. I remember I did a surprise set or something. What did I do? I forgot only, man. Like what was
Yeah,
it? Like
yeah.
you just
I think
It's
you
there.
went
it just happened. Something like that. Yeah,
Correct. Impromptu. It's called Impromptu. It's there on
impromptu.
a Facebook
Yeah.
video. The video is still there. Yeah.
आप
You did
लोग
a
देखो मैं जा रहा हूँ.
mask.
Ashwin, this
mask.
is the same studio that I came to, right? Like when you were
Yes,
first starting it up.
Yes. Same one.
Yeah,
Same
okay.
one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you,
remember.
Kanan. Thank you. No, please don't remember. I've already said.
I'm not
a minute
remembering anything.
ago-
I've told. I'm not allowed to speak anymore.
Please don't remember.
Virtual high five to Ashwin.
God, camera
The
angle.
other
Oh,
side. Other side. Other side.
other side. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
we're like,
Producers in the reverse. Amazing.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. It
Super
was
fun session, guys. Thank you
definitely
for having us.
super fun.
Super
Yeah,
fun.
absolutely.
Like, new music discovery, which you would have never ever discovered in your life. Remember.
Correct.
Cheers. Cheers
Cheers,
for
guys.
that.
Bye-bye.
Guys,
Thank you.
thank you so
Guys,
much.
just don't disconnect.
That was
We'll
amazing.
just say bye to everybody.
Thanks to
and then,
Rakesh today. He asked some really
Yeah,
interesting
good questions,
questions.
Rakesh.
as well.
yeah.
Definitely not because he's bribing me with Nirma, but
Mhm.
otherwise. All right, everybody.
Bye to the audience.
This is
We are
soon.
going to go backstage.
Yes.
All right,
To the green
so-
room.
In 3, 2,